Ideally, keep your videos switched on for a greater connectivity between us all, while keeping your microphones on mute unless you have to speak. It's always nice to be attentive and listen to understand, so that no questions are repeated towards the end of the orientation, saving us time. Please use the raise hand option in the Zoom panel below to ask questions or raise your hands. Use the chat option to send messages. While our language is English, if someone wants to ask questions in languages known to any one of us that can be translated, we will be happy to accommodate the same. We know who you are, Delphians or prospective Delphians, but it is super nice that you briefly introduce yourself by name, profession, location, and the Delphic Council you belong to. Since this is an orientation meeting, we would really love to acknowledge all of you. However, we may not be able to name all of you. So please know that we are happy that you all have joined us here. Back to myself, I am Shabina Kutte from Srinagar, Kashmir, as I said. I'm a member of the Delphi Council of Jammu and Kashmir and the National Coordinator for curating virtual programs and content for the National Delphi Council in India. I'm a teacher, a student, a professor of English language and literature. I specialize in post-colonial literatures. I focus mainly on post-humanism, environmental humanities, subaltern studies, marginal literatures, and cultural studies. Personally, I am a blessed daughter and a proud Delphian. My connection with Delphic goes way back to my officially joining the movement a couple of years back. Growing up, there is a prayer we used to recite in our school assemblies, Sahibo Satchamecheni, an invocation, a poem, a poetic invocation by Ghulam Ahmed Mahjoor, the national poet of Jammu and Kashmir, who in his prayer refers to his personal God, invokes him during the times of the conflict-ridden world that we all have been witnessing. And in one of the verses, he says, "Shaklichus insan magar insaniyat nish bekhabar. Havtam mat imtiha yam shakli mat manchatam." This verse that basically sums up the essence of the Delphic movement to me personally, translates roughly to that I am this human being. I have been given this face of a human, yet I'm devoid of any humanity. And the invocation to the prayer to the God is, do not put me to test, do not make me embarrass this human face that you have given me. My understanding was that humanity in its disintegrated and deformed shape that it has reached to us, all begins with humans recognizing each other, respecting each other, coming close to each other. This is what the Delphic platform has taught me. And it is this principle that has been connecting me to the Delphic movement. Enough about myself. I would specially acknowledge and warmly welcome Mr. Christian Schkirsch, the man who has given us this principle, this uniting and binding principle of linking arts and cultures, joining people together for promotion of peace and harmony. The initiator, founder, and the current president of the International Delphic Council from Germany. Welcome, sir. Professor Divina Bautista, our immediate past president from Philippines. Ms. Roberta Williams from the IDC North America representative for New York was about to join us, but due to her health, she's not been able to join us today. But we acknowledge, ma'am, that you are, if not physically present here, but through your thoughts, you're connected with us. To Shri Dilip Mishra ji, the IDC director for South, East, and Far East Asia. Mr. Sabahatan Sakral, Deputy Secretary General of the IDC, joining us from Germany. Shri N.N. Pandeyji, the President of the National Delphic Council in India. Shri B.L. Sridevji, President from the National Delphic Council in Nepal. Mr. Sadiqul Amin Ananda, initiator of the National Delphic Council from Bangladesh. And Engineer Ashok Singh, the president of the Delphi Council of Jammu and Kashmir, the man who keeps on motivating us here, and also the Secretary General of the National Delphi Council in India. And all our Delphic leaders, existing and prospective members from across the 3 nations and various regions of the world, I welcome you all to this virtual meeting. Our speaker for today is none other than Mr. Ramesh Prasanna, Secretary General of the International Delphic Council. We all know him by face, by name. Uh, he is an active and ever willing, super reachable, and the most dedicated of the Delphic volunteers that I have had the pleasure of knowing and meeting for all things Delphic. However, we need to have a formal introduction, and I thought it fit to do so for everyone's benefit. From what we know, Mr. Ramesh Prasanna is a cultural and social entrepreneur by practice with 2.5 decades of cross-sectoral experiences, first mover initiatives, and wide international cross-cultural exposure. He has had transdisciplinary experiences in the creative and the cultural industry sector, specifically so in the visual media segments of television and film content production, somatic design and sonography, and intellectual properties in the arts pedagogy space for impressionable children, who are the future of everything we do today. He is startup advisor in the culinary sector and has dabbled with various experimental enterprises. Currently, he leverages his instincts, knowledge, skills, temperament, and circle of influence to create, curate, design, and develop cultural and artistic experiences, assets, and intellectual properties like immersive thematic experiences, museums, cultural ecosystems for children in schools, virtual experiences through technology, and new media, cultural advocacy, and as such, in the historical, mythological, spiritual, educational, leisure, entertainment, and ecological domains. He is the managing director of Art School Artistic Resources, ecosystem advisor of Foodies Fast to Foods, strategic advisor to Goodberg Waste Management, and lives and works in Hyderabad, India. After a chance encounter with Mr. Christian Kirsch, the visionary initiator of the Delphic movement, he embraced the Delphic idea in letter, spirit, and emotion, and today manages the International Delphic Council in the capacity of the Secretary General, overseeing day-to-day growth, management, and harmonizing the network, carrying forward the vision of the founders and adding value to it. For the IDC, he has reinitiated the Delphic movement in the South Asia. Today, he will take us through the Delphic vision to give us an insight into the Delphic movement, its ancient inspiration and modern history, modern emphasis on the 6 art categories that are included in the International Delphic Games, the scope and scale of what is and what can be, that will define the relevance of the Delphic idea in our lives. Without taking much time, I hand over the stage over to Mr. Ramesh Prasannaji.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Shabina Kute. You've been an absolutely good sport, and I've been noticing that you've been very active with the Delphic Council of Jammu and Kashmir and have been contributing at the national level also. And we all have had the pleasure of hearing you have conversations during the Delphic talks. And I think Sawahatin would say that, we would be happy to acknowledge that. So let me start with, welcoming all of you, and please forgive me if acknowledgements are not very specific to people, because Dr. Shabina has acknowledged everybody, whoever are leading their respective countries or the IDC for that matter. But we do have wonderful leaders here from the regional Delphic councils from within India, and leaders from Nepal, and also prospective leaders from Bangladesh. We also have, a small incident that happened as Roberta Williams, our, amphibian member and North America representative, had a medical issue, a small accident at home. So she sent best wishes to all of you. So let me also, specifically say that today's orientation is a refresher for some of you, and it is possibly the first time that some of you are going to go through it. And the idea of an orientation emerges from the fact that unless we don't harmonize ourselves or internalize the idea within ourselves, our contribution or our involvement with the Delphic movement might just be a little superfluous. And I think unless we emotionally get vested into the idea that's called Delphic, and an ancient idea, an idea which time tested, an idea which has got its roots very deeply entrenched, an idea that was rediscovered by Mr. Christian Kirsch during one of his chance visits to Greece, sitting on Mount Parnassus and getting a a deja vu moment or a eureka moment. And that's when he realized that something should be done of something that was already done and of something that's relevant today. And I think, now if you go back and forth, we need to understand a few very important, things about the Delphic movement. Many of us have possibly heard these kind of things repeatedly. So I'm trying to make sure that the older people who already have gone through this are not, don't find it repetitive. So let me just kind of take you back and forth. So I'm going to run you through a pictorial presentation, and while I run you through that, I will also narrate whatever I can. And I must tell you that I am not the authority in Delphic matters. I am a volunteer like all of you, but I do make an effort to understand and to imbibe and to also make sure that I do the right things of whatever is said. Basically we talk about harmony, and I think harmony means connecting with each other. And harmony before connecting with each other is connecting with yourself. And I think that's exactly what I try to practice. And with this, I just start showing you something which you can possibly relate to. And post this presentation, we are free to ask questions and move forward. As you can see in the very first slide, we have something which is called the Delphic games, right? And we say that harmony is primarily the primary operating word. Mutual respect is the most important thing in this world, and love. Love is oxytocin. Like in sports, you have adrenaline. When it comes to anything to do art, culture, anything to do with the good things of life, the beautiful things of life, the aesthetics, it is basically oxytocin, which is also love. And therefore, it never had a place to bloom. Now, you just consider the Delphic movement as a big garden, and I think these are the things that bloom in this garden. I hope everybody can see the screen and everybody can hear. If anybody has a problem, please do raise your hand or send out a message, and we'll be able to correct that. Now, I must tell you before we start that while we are an ancient idea, we have restarted in 1994 or revived in 1994 as the Delphic Games of the modern era. And this is exactly what I referred to as Mr. Christian Kirsch's Eureka moment and how he got many countries together. Now, there are a lot more people coming in, so there could be some disturbance because I think some people are being admitted. So the idea is, one of the things that one needs to understand and one needs to see is that it's ancient wisdom. You see, in today's times, we can invent so many things. I mean, there are so many things up for grabs. There's so much of distraction we have in our lives. Entertainment, television, this, that, the works. But when it came to ancient times, the one thing that people knew was their own artistic expressions. You would express yourself to people, somebody would express themselves to you, and you would be lost in such a beautiful world that you never used to have a conflict. The idea of the Greek civilization in the ancient times was that they celebrated their cultural, artistic, and sporting engagements. What was the most important component here, which I think Mr. Kirsch very beautifully explained to me when I was in Greece at the sanctuary of God Apollo, was the humility that comes by imbibing artistic expressions and attributing to culture and to education. And therefore, this was a great platform and the only known and recorded platform in the world of any culture in the world. I've gone through history twice over just to understand whether there were people parallelly doing something like this. There were many different ideas around the world, but this was possibly those. So that is why inspiration from the ancient wisdom of the Delphic idea is what is the modern relevance we have today. So the Delphic Games for art and culture and Olympic Games for sports, both of these are born in the same ideology or principle, and these were called the Pan-Hellenic Games. Now, celebrating the timeless Delphic spirit. Now, you see, we as the movement, when we started, I think the first thing the founders did was to, figure out a Delphic code or a code that we will live by, something that we need to relate to. As they say, if you stand for nothing, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. And unless and until you have the very specific, idea of where you want to go and how you want to be, you'll never be able to create something which is effective. And therefore, we have a Delphic code, which is a 7 codes that we have. And the first code out of them is very simple. is that everybody will agree here that we come from Earth and we go back to Earth. So Mother Earth is the first, what attribute of which everything is born. And God Apollo, the Greek god Apollo, was the god for all, endeavors, artistic endeavors of education, of culture, of everything that was aesthetic, of beautiful, of everything that was wise, and everything that actually gave people humility is what. So it is inspired by Greek god Apollo, and in reverence of Mother Earth is to call it Gaia in Greece. And the Delphic movement, as you can see here, is committed to foster, cherish, and sustain the universal principle of peace, harmony, and equilibrium. Now, a lot of people, don't understand that why only art. A lot of people ask me all kinds of questions, and one of the answers that I would give you is possibly the only things that you could engage with or do, or only things that you could express that can take you closer to the principle of peace and of harmony and of equanimity is basically, the arts and cultures primarily, which means Delphic games in our case, right? And the idea is to bring harmony between people, between states, countries, nations, and, the justice within a society, sustainable and respectful approach. A lot of people tell me, aren't these idealistic? I say, unless you don't have ideals, how do you even build something on? And this is the ideals that the IDC lives by. This is the first of the 7 codes, and the rest of this, the rest of the codes are available on request, and it's always available for people to read. So when we say what is, now a lot of people ask me what's the difference between culture and arts, and a lot of people also tell me that, is culture religion? A lot of people mix spirituality with religion, and they think we are some what you call a hula baloo, or whatever you call that, people doing things that are which are way beyond normal human beings. But the truth is, our culture is our operating system, and I'm using the word operating system for us to better understand in the modern times. And it is basically who we are, where we come from, what do we identify with, what is our dance, what is our music, what's our literature, what kind of theater do we practice, or what kind of crafts do we have, our social skills, our ecological balance that we create, and how much who do we worship, what do we do, and the architecture, the heritage. These are the things that define your culture. Religion comes much, much, much after that. Religion could be many within a culture, but culture is only that one culture which encompasses everything. And therefore, when we call ourselves Nepali, we call ourselves Indian, we call ourselves German, we call ourselves Bangladeshi, we are actually talking about an identification or identifying with a particular culture or set of cultures that define us. That's why whenever you speak about somebody and say, well, he's a German, you would immediately get a visual idea of how a German would be. That's because your culture defines you. And of course, everything then put together becomes one. And then arts are the window to our culture. And when your culture teaches you a lot of things or imbibes in you a lot of values, those values then are expressed through your art forms. I'm pretty sure artists here would understand what I speak, is that any expression of art, and we have Mr. B.L. Sridev from Nepal, he's a filmmaker, and he would tell you that his filmmaking technique or his filmmaking attributes will come from his cultural, whatever cultural background he comes from. He understands that better, he relates that better. So therefore, we have both the artistic and cultural expressions. Those are basically coming out of your cultural background. And this is what arts are primarily, and every kind of expression. And there is where the IDC has an edge over anything else or anybody else in the world. And we will come to that soon. So it all began in this place 2,600 years ago. If you look at the panel on the top, you will understand that you had an artist's impression of the sanctuary of Apollo. And this is where it all began. One of the most, it's possibly the most flourishing, place during the olden, in the ancient times, where you had everything going, which was more to do with wisdom and how to bring harmony in society. So plenty of things. I mean, if people who know history would know about the Oracle of Delphi, you would know about the, sanctuary of Apollo. You will know about, what was the relevance or importance of the Greek gods and the history behind all of that. And now in the modern times, of course, it's been thousands of years. It's been 1,600, maybe 2,600 years. There have been earthquakes and various things. So now we have something which you can see below, an artist's impression, as well as the current theater in Delphi, which you can see here. And this is where Delphi is on the map for your idea. So what does the Delphic movement stand for, or vis-a-vis the Olympics? Because we always keep talking about being twin sisters. It's about symbolizing body and mind. It's about the balance between body and mind. So the mind here is the Delphic movement, or the Delphic idea, and the body is the Olympics. So here there is an analogy, which of course when we share this one can read, but one should know that what Pierre Coubertin did in 1894 in France by restarting the Olympic Games. Mr. Christian Kirsch is compared to him by having revived the Delphic movement in exactly 100 years later. And you must know that nobody can live without culture. Even Olympics, when at some point realized that just sports does not help. So 1912 to 1948, the Olympic Games also had cultural competitions, of course, in context to sports. And then after the world wars and all of that happened, they decided that possibly it was difficult because artists are dictated by their ecosystems. If they are disturbed with relocations or conflicts, then they certainly are not in a position to do much. And therefore, there was a time when possibly the patronage was less, and they decided to do away with that. So to tell you that eventually everything boils down to your culture and to your artistic expressions, and that is what even Olympics attempted. And Olympics is all about competition. We talk about who is the highest, who is the fastest, who is the strongest, who's number one, who's number two, number three. There is nothing called appreciation for everybody. It is only for the best or the winners. But the Delphic movement is all about appreciation of everything around the world. We do have competitions, but our competitions are limited to only those art categories that can be judged scientifically. Otherwise, it's presentations, exhibitions, and therefore, nobody here is discriminated against. There's no discrimination per se, right? So we talk about the revival in the modern era. We are very fortunate to have, Professor Bautista and Mr. Kirsch here in the meeting. Both of them have been part of the founding of the organization. And when this was founded in 1994, the idea was to bring people together. Idea was to create a harmony around the world by creating common floors. And what was the common floor? That was the Delphic Games. And the Delphic Games is the ancient idea, which is the most potent idea, whose time has again come. It started in 94 and it's been continuing ever since. And the most beautiful invention, or rather I would say a thoughtful invention of the International Delphic Council, and specifically Mr. Kirsch, would be the 6 Delphic art categories, which encompass various artistic disciplines. Now imagine everything that you have to express in the world, everything. All of these are within the umbrella of the 6 art categories. So there could be 6 major art categories, but there could be maybe 100, 200, 300 subcategories, depending on what can be done, during a games or whatever. So this is the common flow. So you're talking about, we'll come to the art categories per se. And to make it very clear to all the new participants and a refresher to the older ones, we are a voluntary organization. We are a not-for-profit organization. We are a public benefit organization. We are non-religious in nature. We are non-government in nature. We are non-political in nature. We are non-sectarian in nature. We are equal opportunity, and we certainly are all inclusive. And that's the whole idea of the common flow. We do not discriminate between the haves and have-nots. We do not discriminate between, normal people and handicapped people. We do not discriminate between anything, no color, no race, no religion. So this is why it makes us more special. And as you can see in this frame, you have Mr. Kirsch signing the first charter with 20 nations came together. And of course, the first Congress that happened, you can see the picture here. So to sum it up, if somebody asks us, what are the Delphic Games? A lot of people ask me, can we describe Delphic Games in a line? This is what it is. Delphic Games are to art and cultures what Olympic Games are to physical sports. And the Delphic Games are a powerful dialogue of the arts and an encounter of the cultures. And like the Olympics have fire as the symbol, this is the most commonly known thing. Now we have water as a symbol because water is pure, it's timeless, it's formless, it's flowing, it's eternal, it is harmonious, it can take any shape, and it's life-giving. And the most important thing is You put it anywhere in any form, it will take that shape. And that's exactly what arts are. Arts have the ability to transform, to bend, to rise up to occasions and to do whatever. There's nothing called a fixed framework for arts. And which is why we have something called the Castalian Spring Ceremony, a beautiful traditional ceremony that happens before any games. And then the water is collected from the Castalian springs, which flows eternally. And as you can see in the frame here, you can see a rock face, pouring out water, and then there's a cistern that's collecting the water. And this has been there forever. This must have been a spring in the ancient times. Maybe the earthquakes happened, and the spring went into an oleo channel, and water comes out like this, but it's eternally flowing. And then you collect the water, and then you do a ceremony, a traditional ceremony, and then take that water around to various countries or to the host country, and then you take sacred water of that country and whatever the country would like to do wherever the games are happening, and you declare open the games. And therefore, water, basically as a symbol, tells you that it is spiritual in its being, because every artist would understand what I say, is that spirituality is inbuilt when it comes to arts. You are actually connected to the highest, to the universe, to the higher self, and therefore this is the most symbolic thing that you can ever have with the movement. And then we talk about this is a beautiful picture that you can see that was our IDC member Supak Kwon from South Korea. A beautiful ceremony. First, there was this Castalian Spring ceremony, and then this was on Mount Parnassus, where they invoked, the higher energies to, make the world more harmonious and peaceful. As you can see with the very picture, a picture speaks 1,000 words. And if you can see this, you can imagine what kind of harmony and what kind of beautiful environment that this happened in. And you get an idea here. These are the Delphic art categories that we are so proud of, and we're proud of for a very good reason. And the very good reason is that while we incorporate all the art categories from whatever you know and whatever I know, we've also incorporated two other art categories which nobody in this world has ever come up with, neither do they come up with now. There are works happening in silos all over the world, different people in different parts of the world disparately doing different things, but there is nothing called a harmonic transdisciplinary platform. I would call this transdisciplinary because no musician can be without literature, and no literary person will be without culture. And similarly, an architect, we cannot live in isolation without the environment that it comes from. That means ecology, that means culture, that means literature, that means dance, that means music. Unless he doesn't understand all of these things, he or she will not be able to build something which is an edifice. And therefore, every single art category. So the first four art categories that you could see, that is musical arts and sound, performing arts and acrobatics, visual arts and crafts, language arts and rhetoric. These four art categories are categories that you might have possibly come across often, everywhere. But there are these art categories which are specially attributed to the International Delphic Movement, which is a social arts and communication, which is, everything that when we talk about culture and talk about our identity, what defines our identity is the social arts that define our identity. What do we practice? So our culinary arts for that matter, our traditions, our customs and rituals, not religion, by the way. A lot of people, again, mix up ritual with, religion. It's not religion. And for example, there's a season change. When the seasons change in many countries, and I know that in India and I know that in Nepal for sure, but I'm sure there are many other countries which do this. When seasons change, you celebrate the seasons change, and that is also a ritual. And therefore, there's nothing connected to religion, it's connected to nature. And rituals can be, connected to nature. And culinary rituals, when you cook food and when you make some beautiful feasts, you offer it to the higher energies. And that is again a ritual. That is not again religion. So therefore, and then the pedagogy, the way you teach and what you teach, and the didactics, the methodologies, the media platforms that you have in today's time, like you have all the media, social media, electronic media, and all of that. And you're talking about animation and gaming and public relations and social media, cultural spaces and facilities, and all of that comes within the social arts and communications category. And the ecological arts and architecture is the second most important invention, I would say, of the International Delphic Council, is basically that everything that you have is continuity of what you had. And therefore, continuity, it's very important that your heritage, and heritage as in built heritage, also is a part of that. And therefore, the nature that you live in, which actually dictated a lot of your cultural beliefs, also needs to be conserved. So therefore, you're talking about restoration and conservation of natural habitats. about water bodies and heritage, greening, urban forestry, landscaping, urban and rural planning, the works. Now, can you see this? The beauty of this, the whole idea of transdisciplinary. You would have a musician who just plays a guitar, but connects beautifully with higher energies. And you have an architect who possibly builds the most magnificent edifices. You have everybody here. So there is no haves and have-nots. It's something that everybody can hold hands together, everybody can work together, or everybody can, and one artist can be multidisciplinary artist also. There are artists I know who are filmmakers and who are also painters, who are also craftspeople, who also do, who perform, dance, and so many things. So all of these put together, this is what the human face of artist expression is. And the Delphic art categories and disciplines, now anybody here who is an artist and who has been told that, this is a platform for everybody, including artists, you should understand that this is how it flows. When you participate in the Delphic Games, because Delphic Games is a primary identity, that's the whole idea of the Delphic movement. That's where it came from. Of course, then you keep building, ecosystems around it. So there are games and awards and rewards and all that you do. How do you honor people? So we stage Delphic Games in international, continental, and national formats. The participants are across the 6 art categories and subcategories, various disciplines. They display their talent and win numerous awards and honors. So we have competitions of arts that can be judged. Now, when we say that, a lot of people keep telling us, how can you judge arts? You can certainly judge somebody who dances because of the motor movements. You can judge people who sing with the throat, with the lyrics or the intonation of the words that you use when you sing. And you can certainly judge musical instruments or people who play musical instruments. You can judge those. You can judge architecture. And you can judge certain things like animation, social media and those things because of the efficacy of what they bring on the table. And then what you cannot judge are then presentations. And presentations are unique. I mean, they are basically anything that's unique to everybody. And everybody is beautiful there. And the exhibitions that are objects of art. And then the awards that we have, the Delphic Laura, the Lyre, the medals and certificates. And depending on the country, depending on the games and the IDC, policies, one can always, go with more. But the idea is this. And before the games start, then you also have a Delphic poet that you bring about. You bring Delphic ambassadors into play, and you do a lot of things which then take you across to the to a larger what we call that audience. So we are talking about countries that have hosted the Delphic Games. Now, Delphic Games has had a history. A lot of people tell me we've not heard about the Delphic Games. Wow, I mean, of course, that's right. It's true. You don't, in 28 years of our life, we are still in our youth. And when you are in your youth and you learn from a journey and then you put things together and then you go boom, and that's where you go. So we have a system and situation here where we've had 7 games in all together. And these 7 games have been held in different countries, starting with Georgia. There's a beautiful story behind Georgia. And this story basically, is about the country going through a certain national crisis. And during this national crisis, they had a choice. They had a choice either to focus on the national crisis or to make the people happy so that they can manage themselves by being happy. And they chose the games. And the first Junior Delphic Games were held in Georgia. And we've had Moscow, Russia. We've had Düsseldorf in Germany. We had Kuching in Malaysia. We had the Baguio City in Philippines and Jeju Island in South Korea. And we had Johannesburg in South Africa. And all of these put together, we've had a beautiful, run-up of games and a lot of artists coming together. 2 formats, 7 countries, 3 continents. We had youth, Junior Delphic Games and the Delphic Games. And, we've also had 25,000 odd participants coming across the games as an aggregate. And then over 100 countries aggregate to come and participate, to present and to exhibit their cultural expressions. And visionaries around the world have loved the Delphic spirit. And some of these are reflected here. We have late Nelson Mandela, we have late Mikhail Gorbachev, We had Helmut Schmidt from East Germany, and we had Melina Marcori in Greece, the ex-foreign minister. And there have been a lot more celebrities and visionaries and statesmen who have supported us. And you can see that there are people who love the idea and they know that this is something that's going to work very well. And therefore, we then go to the organizations that love the Delphic impact. UNESCO has recognized us, endorsed our games. We've had the ASEAN, recognizing, endorsing our games. The Hellenic Republic, that is the Greek, Republic, Ministry of Tourism, European Parliament. We're talking about the, B Berlin. We're talking about the ITB Berlin. We're talking about the Polish Academic Network, and many more. And even in various countries, there are various organizations that support us, and this is how we go about. So there is a basic structure. We don't have to get too much into it, but to just let you know that there is a global body, which is a representative of a global milieu, and it's an association of persons registered in Germany. We follow every single law under the land. We are a tax-free organization, that's an honor that we've got from the German government. We also have got a 12-member amphitheater that's led by the president and a IDC secretariat led by the Secretary General. We have an advisory board. We've got continental directors, regional advisors. We have Delphic ambassadors, envoys, and emissaries. We have got international Delphic commissions and committees. We have got IDC certifications, grants, collaborations, alliances, and the works. And there are multiple arms that we have. And one of the most important institutions we have is the International Delphic Academy, which is the intellectual, spiritual, and academic, let's say, think tank. And then we have the Delphic Games, which is primarily the physical, reach out to the world. And then we have the National Delphic Councils, which then harmonize along with the International Delphic Council. We have regional Delphic Councils, and we have Delphic clubs to go with, so that there is a harmonious, large network that we have. So we have international Delphic leaders currently, that people who are associated with the movement at decision-making levels. This is self-explanatory. We have people from around the world, from various countries. And this happens once in 2 years. We have a new amphitheater that comes on board. We have IDC platforms, forums, mediums, art categories. We have various expression mediums for people to express themselves. And some of them are, publications. Some of them, one is a Delphic club for schools and colleges. One could be a Delphic school certification program, that you certify a school for being culturally sensitive, so that children and parents know that, there is a cultural values that are being, imparted there. There's a Delphic Agora for the youth to come together and put in the ideas and see how the world can grow. There's a Delphic talks that happen where you have conversations that shape the conscience of how we think about culture. We have DAMA, which is the Delphic Art, and Movie Award. We also call it the Delphic Education Art Movie Award. It's primarily short films that are centered around this topic. And this is something we would, it's a wonderful idea, because a lot of people love to subscribe to this. And the Delphic Art Wall, which has been running since 2016 and intends to be the longest art wall in the world, intending to be possibly 11-kilometer or maybe 8-mile art wall eventually, when we are going to have the next big Delphic Games that we have. And then, of course, the 6 art categories, as you can see in the second row, these are these depict the 6 art categories that I mentioned to you earlier. And we also have a beautiful mascot called the Delphics. And this Delphics is basically something that works for us like the Maharaja of Air India in India, if people know in India, or for that matter, many mascots that work in the world. And this is something that we intend to, possibly the most expressive one that you can find. And we intend to keep this going. And there, of course, are many other things that we keep doing. So we call this, the one spirit that we need to have is the spirit of harmony. And therefore, the medium to do that is many expressions. So many expressions in one spirit is what we subscribe to. And we are 28 years old. So one of the things that many people ask me, why should we join the Delphic movement? What is so different about Delphic movement from other organizations that come to me or I go to? What's the big difference? First things first, we are not just any other organization, we are a movement. We are a movement of people who have got one common goal of harmony around the world through artistic expressions and cultural activities. And therefore, one of the best things that you could do is to harmonize yourself to begin with. So you could volunteer. Your expertise in realizing peace and harmony through common flows for arts and cultures is the first reason why you should join the Delphic movement. Second one is connect with other Delphians for lasting friendships and collaborations. Who does not want a network? Who doesn't want to connect with other people? You'd love to know people around the world, and that's the other thing. Then participate in the Delphic games and various Delphic programs, platforms and forums and mediums. And therefore, if you're an artist, you get platforms. If you love the arts, then you get something to see. And you engage then with unique cultures. You engage with expressions. You engage with practices from people around the world. And you also have, you discover yourself. The most important thing is many of us, unfortunately, don't even know our own heritage and our own history. And this helps you to discover yourself. So therefore, anybody can see anything in this. It could be many things for many people, different things for different people, and that's the idea of community. Who can be a Delphian? We have individual adults 22 years of age and above, young adults 17 to 21 years of age through the university Delphic clubs or school Delphic clubs, not directly into councils for that matter. Children 9 to 16 years, again schools through the Delphic clubs, not-for-profit organizations who have similar causes or who possibly subscribe to us in our ideology or Delphi code, and corporate entities who want to support and help, because without support, resources, finances, and all that, nothing helps. So many corporate entities would like to be with you and help you, and that is something can be done, or they just want to be members. Wonderful. That's how it works. And therefore, we come to the most beautiful part of this presentation, is that we would like to show you a visual glimpse of the various Delphic activities around the world. They say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, as I said earlier, and I think that's what we're going to have a look at. This is the opening ceremony of the Delphic Games in Jeju Island, and you can imagine that if this is how it looks in this photograph, what would have been there for the 5 days or 7 days that it happened. An absolutely beautiful milieu with people coming from various countries. This is the opening ceremony of the first World Junior Delphics in Georgia. And the president of Georgia opened this, and they were the first people to patronize us in a beautiful way. And these are some really very beautiful visual glimpses of some of the most happening cultural things. This is a South Korean performance that's happening. And this is, a multinational milieu of people, picked from the 2009, board meeting that one had in Jeju in Korea. And we've had many such. And there have been a lot of people who've come, and it's beautiful, getting people to come from different countries. And there is, this beautiful picture of nature and, Malaysia, because Sarawak was the place where the games happened. And therefore, it was one of the posters that they had come up with, and this is what you see. These are carnivals that happen around the Delphic movement, on the roads, to show people what other cultures are. So you take people around, your own cultures or other cultures, and that's a very beautiful sight. Just the way you see for different games that you have delegations and contingents coming from different countries. Here you see how many countries come, and it's a beautiful time that they have. And these are some of the visual glimpses of the most beautiful things. Let's look at percussion here. Let's look at, different expressions here. You've got dance, you've got modern dance, you've got, wonderful, happy people who come here. That's a horn playing, that somebody's playing a horn. And these are the different performing arts that you have from different nations. And these are some of the more beautiful things you can see on the top, left side is balloons that are carrying very high the, games message into the skies. And then you also have on the bottom right, you can see a visit or an Amphitheater meeting possibly in Greece, in Delphi. This is Delphi. These are some of the other, pictures that you can see. And everywhere that you can see, it's all about connecting with your emotions, beautiful emotions. These are crafts. How many beautiful expressions from around the world. These are the medals and awards that you get. And, from different games. So every time, host country comes on board, there could be some changes in the way they do things, but it's beautiful. Now, let me tell you something very interesting about the Jeju Island South Korea games and the medal that you see here in the hands of the lady and the Indian gentleman here. There is a black spot in between the, in the medal. Do you know what it was? Jeju Island is an island. So possibly that was volcanic rock or volcanic, stones or pebbles that were picked up, and they were embedded so that it leaves an impression permanently that it happened in Jeju games. And this is the other beautiful attribute of how you look at nature and how you respect your own, local nature. And these are the different expressions you have from different parts of the world. These are children, very impressionable children. They can't be our members, of course, but they are certainly, when we do programs, they do come, and these are some of the more beautiful pictures you can see, and the pictures of innocence. These are the different activities we've had, the beautiful audiences that we've had, Look at the smiles on their faces. Look at it says it all. I mean, it says everything that you've connected. I mean, you are in sync with what you are, around you. And these are some of the activities. One of the activities that happened in India, it was a Delphic summit. This is a Delphic art wall, for that matter. One Greece on the top end, and the bottom end is the Indian picture that you see. 7,000 people participated in Hyderabad, for this particular activity, and a lot many children participated in Greece. It was an amphitheater, and you can see Mr. Christian Kirsch and Dr. Yanis and wonderful people here in this frame. And you have all kinds of people. This is water is our theme, because water is our, let's say, symbol. And so therefore we have this beautiful theme, and see how children, express themselves. And these are some of the regional and national activities we have. This is the regional activities from India. And you can see one of the frames in between is the national group in India, which is ever growing. And we are happy with that. Even these are some of the pictures of the summit that happened in India earlier. And then there are these, the exhibitions that happened in Germany, and performances that happened in Jeju. And these are some of the more, happy things that we have, is when you are acknowledged in a public square and stuff like that. These are the different activities that we have around the world. These are the different calendars that we come up with, expressing culture. And the movement gets bigger and more meaningful each year. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ramesh ji. Every time you take us through the journey of Delphic, my personal resolve to contribute to Delphic movement becomes even more stronger. Thank you so much for sharing the wonderful Delphic history, the Delphic games, the structure of the Delphic organization, and the vision and mission with us. The floor is now open for discussions. And if there are any questions from the already existing members or the newly joined in members.
Can I speak, Rameshji? Dr. Sabina, can I speak?
Certainly, Anandji, kindly a request that we can see your name. You could kindly introduce yourself first, so that we all know who you are and we get to know you more better in a better way. You're welcome to speak, sir.
Mr. Sadiqul Amin Ananda from Bangladesh. I think switch yourself on.
Yeah. Good evening to everyone, and happy Ramadan. It is in Dhaka. We all are celebrating Ramadan. So the members of Bangladesh Delphic Association proposed are few in number. But I am Sadiqul Amin Anando from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I am the Delphic coordinator of Bangladesh. Actually, I will introduce my team members here. Mr. Mihir Kantri Chaudhary is here. He is a Tagore researcher and a university teacher. And Mr. Tawhid Fitrat Hussain from UK, but he is in Bangladeshi, and he is a columnist come activist. We are very proud to join in International Delphic Council. And Bangladesh will be a spontaneous participant to being a member of Delphic Council, of International Delphic Council. Hopefully, we will increase gradually our activities day by day. Bangladesh is a center and the place of arts, cultures, and heritages. Different cultural activities and programs and are being performed here. And we have multicultural nations, we have tribals, we have mainland dwellers. In the different part of the country, we have different cultures, but we all are in under one umbrella. We are all are Bengali people, and we have a common culture. We don't divide ourselves. We don't separate ourselves. We are a collective countrymen, actually. Now, hopefully after Ramadan, you will see the activities of Bangladesh Delphic Council in a more visible way. Hopefully, after Ramadan, we will come with a big team and with big activities. Right now, I request to Mr. Sabina, sorry, Dr. Sabina and Rameshji to give floor my Delphic members a few time, 1 minute or 2 minutes. First of Mihir Kanti Chaudhary and to Mr. Tohit Fidrat Hussain.
First, switch on your videos, please. We need to see people when we talk.
Thank you so much, Ananda, and for sharing the information from Bangladesh with us. We hope to see more of your activities, joining in with the Delphic movement with all of us here. I request the members that you've addressed to kindly put on the videos.
Mr. Mihir Kanti Chaudhary, please tell something about the activities of your research, literacy, and area of work.
Hello, distinguished moderator Sabina ji, and this of the program, and Mr. Ramesh Prasanna ji. He had a wonderful presentation this evening, and all the distinguished participants today. Good evening to you. And I am Mihir Kanti Chaudhary. I am from Sylhet, Bangladesh, and I feel privileged to be associated with this with the distinguished members of this session. And I recall the golden days when I was educated in India, and my school days, my college days, and university days in the 70s. And I was educated in Guwahati and in Assam, and there, and the rich cultural heritage that I found there, and I was oriented with that, and I came back to my country, and here I am engaged. I am now working in a private university as in admin department, and I am also a professional writer. I had some research on Rabindranath Tagore, and I always try to deliver that their poet is meant to be read, not to be worshipped, and a thorough dissection of what he has written and delivered to the people. And as far as Delphi is concerned, art and culture, we have been told and we have been informed of. I have some things to for submission, in the sense that, say for instance, our neighboring countries, India, so resourceful in art and culture and architecture, religious land of religious diversity, music, dance, food, festivals, etc. But the situation is like that. We go there mainly as passion, mainly as students, sometimes as visitors to limited areas. But say areas like Ajanta, Ellora, Khajuraho, and these architectural places are sometimes visited. But art and culture assertions have been reduced to a great extent. Parliamentary delegations between countries have diminished to a large extent. Visits are mainly at the top level. Ministers and presidents and prime ministers visit each other's countries. But say academicians, students, and all this like these visits have minimized to a great extent. This should be again say I think patronized from different quarters. And I have some writing also on the diplomatic relations, on cultural relations between countries. And when I say that, in every embassy or high commission of the country, there should be a post of a cultural minister. As you know, there is an economic minister by post, is a diplomatic cadre post. So there should be a cultural minister who will look after the cultural affiliations of his country to the country he is affiliated with, who is accredited with. Because the ambassador or the high commissioner in the recent days had little time to look after these areas. He is more political, more diplomatic. And say for Bangladesh, we are unfortunate in the sense that too much senior diplomat is posted in Delhi. In this sense, and this too much senior diplomat is posted in Delhi, and he feels he has lit very few locations to discuss the cultural factors of his country with there, because he is, he's given the status of a minister of state, the second position after full minister of state status. So he has ministers in a country like India. He gets little time for ministers and deputy minister of state, and meeting with other people, he feels it an underprivileged session. So too much senior, we need a cultural minister there. And other countries, if this is taken into consideration, and if a conference is arranged with the major cultures of the subcontinent, say from Marathi, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Bihar, etc., and where Bangladesh will be a part. This does not necessarily mean that we will be derogated to the level of a provincial status. No, we will represent a particular culture, and culture from other areas, from
Thank you so
Kashmir,
much.
from Rajasthan, etc.
Certainly, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your observations. We understand your point of view, but as you can see, we're all here together on one virtual platform. No borders can stop us being connected to each other. I request the next speaker, Tawheed Fitrat Hussain Saab.
Yeah, Mr. Tawheed Fitrat Hussain from UK. Please, Tawheed. Mr. Tawheed, please.
Thank you very much, all the distinguished guests. From here, good afternoon, and salam, everything to you. My point of view, the exchange of cultural activities with the diversity that can make more rich the society. And we have to work on the young generation. That means the young generation is the main force for the build up a peaceful, nice interrelation. That's my opinion is we have to think about the young generation. They can bring more work for us. That's my opinion, and I'm listening because of this is my first day in here. So let me listen more.
We welcome your observation, sir.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And I conclude in one line, and we are very much welcome to Bangladesh, a center of cultural and arts, especially the Nepal team. And here I can see the Mr. B.L. Sridev, the famous actor of Nepal. And we thank and gratitude to Father Christian Kurz sitting here very silently. And we welcome you in Bangladesh very soon. Thank you, the team.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Samir. And thank you to Rameshji also to include us. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Anando.
Sridev sir, did you have to pose any question or query?
Actually, I don't have any question because I already know a lot of things from Ramesh sir. I'll ask some participants from Nepal if there is any questions from our new participants and new members. कसैलाई के क्वेसन छ हामी नेपालबाट जोइन गरेको हरूलाई छ ओके here is Mr. Pawan Kesi. He's the film director. He's eminent director and writer, and he is working in national television of Nepal television. He has some questions. Janu, Banu, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Namaste for all participants and hamro about our Swani Khute and Dr. Swani Khute, and I'm first participant in this Zoom. So like to thank you,
I think Dr. Savina Kutte.
Sabina, not
Right,
Subhani.
sir.
Yeah, Sabina. Sorry, Dr. Sabina Khote. Thank you. And let you know about Nepal. Nepal is one of the most old country in Asia. You know, Nepal is one of
We're
the
aware,
most
sir.
old
We're aware of
country
that.
because you know
Pawanji, question
uh,
about Delphic
but
and Delphic movement.
we have our culture. We have same culture. You know about Nepal is Hindu country and India also Hindu country. Bangladesh also, you know, there is similar culture. Similar culture. I think there is similar culture in our country. You know about India, Nepal, Bangladesh. Now we will talk about three countries. So I'm very happy to say you know about this cultural this, our Delphic society. I think this is very nice, very nice. We have to exchange our culture, exchange our language, exchange our everything. You know, because we are human things. We are human things. We are same. We are. You are also my. You are also my brother, sister, father. I think
Hmm.
I think this, but other
Thank you so
Pawanji,
much, sir, for your sentiments.
thank you,
We are
Pawanji. Thank you
indeed
very
one.
much. Actually, let me
Thank you so
explain
much.
little bit. Actually, today, yesterday and today, we are celebrating Nepali New Year here. So lots of people are busy to celebrate New Year. That's why I think
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, sir. From
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
From
Thank
the
you so
thank
much.
you,
from the entire
thank
family
you.
of Delphic, we wish you a happy New Year. All of you
I'm very
Delphians
happy
who have
to
joined
join.
us from Nepal.
Okay,
Thank you so much
thank you.
for your
Uh,
inputs.
Thank
thank
you so
you,
much.
thank you.
And today, most of eminent personalities are here from Nepal. I would like to introduce Mrs. Jaya Sharma. She is the first digital artist of Nepal and a great painter of Nepal. And another Mr. Narayan Agasti. Narayan Agasti is a young entrepreneur, art and culture entrepreneur, and Gopal Dhakal, a great comedian from Nepal, and Subrat Raja Acharya, he's film writer and film director, and some others are here.
We welcome all of them, sir,
Lots of
and
eminent people
hoping
are
that
here. Mr. Subhas. Yeah.
we're happy
Yeah,
to
Mr.
have all of them in the Delphic family, sir.
Yeah,
As
Mr.
time goes
Surat
by,
Chan.
we'll be connecting to each other more and get to know each other, get to know about the cultures and the arts of your country as well. Thank you so much to all
Definitely.
the Nepalese
Definitely. Thank you
Delphians.
very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Savina ji.
We have the founder, the man who is behind our meeting here today, the person who founded the modern Delphi Games, Mr. J. Christian Beaker, sir, here. If I could kindly request, sir, to address us for a moment.
I'm listening and learning. That's most important for me. I welcome you all for being curious. What's the Delphic movement all about? Because we speak from culture and we speak from arts, but most of us has a different understanding. And that's why we're focusing towards the arts, the skills, to find the unification among us. Because culture you cannot compare. You cannot lead or guide into a competition. Each culture is unique and reflects the emotion, the heart, the destiny of each of us, where we come from. But skill, we can evaluate, as Ramesh said. And this is the secret of us to find our way together through the skill of arts. And I'm grateful for you staying curious and that you are gathering and focusing towards the Delphic Games. And it's naturally, it's a word, Delphic Games spirit. We very open or very often speak about this, but what is really meant? And this is digging into the subject, getting better, asking ourselves, is this what I'm doing enough? How this serves us, our children, and what remains possibly to future generations. This was the reason for me and us founding the International Delphic Council at the 100th anniversary of the Olympic Games, because we believed the body is taken care of enough. Now spirit needs to have a floor to grow, to inspire all of us. And I warmly welcome you and hope to see as much as possible of yours in nature, because by all technique, the personal being together is unbeatable. It's the essence to know who we are, what we are, and I can only say thank you very much for being with us and explore or reveal my great Indian knowledge in the language. Namaste. Thank you for being with us. And now please continue.
Thank you so much, sir. Your words always inspire us. We have also with us Professor Dr. Thomas Differn, the chair of the IDC Education Commission. You were not present in the beginning of the meeting, sir. I welcome you to this virtual platform. Now, to proceed on, I request our Secretary General IDC, Sri Ramesh Prasanna, for his last concluding remarks.
Well, before we conclude, I would like to ask anybody, we have any specific questions to ask. So I just got on the chat, we've been asked a question. I'd like to answer that before we move forward. That's Alison Holmes asking me, when is the next Delphic Games? Where is it going to take place? So I said the process will start in a few months. We are attempting 2026. The other question that was that how can IDC reach out those places in the world that need it the most? I think of war in Ukraine, women in Iran, North Korea, Syria. Now, a very interesting question. We are an organization which is entirely neutral in its being, and we will reach out to any place that needs harmony and it needs healing. And healing and harmony through our methods of connecting people through arts and cultures. We believe strongly that when it comes to artistic expressions and cultural beliefs, and when you bring people together, there's a lot of wonders that can happen. You know, people then automatically get healed, because you see, arts and cultures are surely a balm. They may not be a medical balm, but they certainly are a spiritual balm. And I think whenever we get an opportunity to be able to do work in these areas, we will. We will not do it from the perspective of a war. We will do it from a perspective of healing. Because the moment we talk about war and we try to get into something, we are wading into a political arena, and that's not our intention. We are primarily, as I told you, a non-political, non-profit, and non-sectarian and all of that. So therefore, yes, we have attempted, by the way, there is a continental games in Europe that's going to take place soon. And this is going to encompass a lot of countries within Europe, including Ukraine that you just mentioned. The day the conflict gets over, the day people are allowed to enter into that country, possibly we will stage something there. We'll take a platform there. You never know, it could be a games, it could be anything else. But the idea is to connect people. And whenever they are ready to participate in other countries, then we'll certainly hook them on. Some of the countries you mentioned, Alison, we do not have Delphic councils yet, primarily because of reasons to do with participation and the kind of participation. So therefore, we are building on. In fact, the Arabic countries, we are working on building, network. We are working on the UAE and the Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Qatar and Oman and all of those places. Arab countries have been very poor in their participation in the past, and we believe that we will be able to move forward and do stuff. Our Deputy Secretary General has started speaking to people in Turkey as well to revive or establish a movement there. Once we will all sit and discuss that. So therefore, needless to say that we are here and we will take care of all the people who need us in terms of arts, cultures, and we'll extend our healing wherever we can. So this is the answer to your query. I would like to, now that I believe that people are still absorbing, digesting, chewing the cud as they call it, and possibly you will have questions to ask the next time we meet. But most certainly, if you have any questions in your mind, you can mail it to mail@delphic.org, and the most commonly available mail ID, which will be answered. If you have any questions regarding anything technical about National Delphic Councils or whatever, you can still reach out to us. We'll answer you back. And in terms of the next steps that we are going to take, we're going to continue to have some of these orientation meetings where whoever have come today can come back again, and whoever you think can come here, you can bring them on. I think all of us have a responsibility to spread harmony. So each one bring 2 people onto the movement, and I think this is something that we should look forward to. We have friends, we have family, we have people who would love to, bring people on board, and I think we should do that. And this is exactly what we've been doing, at least in certain parts of the world, like in India, we have been, interconnecting and recommending and bringing people on board. And I'm so happy to tell you that this is the 125th Zoom meeting or a Delphic orientation meeting we are conducting between 2021 and 2023. Now you can know how many meetings have happened every month or every week or whatever it is. And many of you who have come to those meetings earlier are here. And therefore, I would believe that if you are in this meeting here and you understand the Delphic idea and the Delphic spirit, you will be here. And whoever come from whichever country need to come from a country, need to come through that National Delphic Council or through a regional Delphic Council that we would have. Any members who have come here on invitation or new people who do not know which state they belong to, that can be corrected. We can communicate that to you. But whoever come from wherever should subscribe to their regional or the National Council. I'm very happy to let you know that we are in the process of creating, robust and active platforms. We intend doing a global summit in India from 18 to 21st of October 2023 in Calcutta in India. And this is going to be one of the beautiful cultural affairs that we are going to have. There is one of the largest cultural festivals that happen in India around that time. And this is going to be really colorful. It's going to be about culinary, tastes. It's going to be about aesthetics. It's going to be about the beautiful cultural milieu that's going to have. And all of you are invited for that. Most certainly, the entire IDC team will be in Calcutta, whoever is available. And most certainly, the host country or the host state, the West Bengal Delphic Council, the intention to choose a regional council to host a summit of that nature is primarily to drive home the point that we reach the last mile. We are not just based out of Berlin. We are just not based out of country, capitals. We are based out of every single place that you can see. And the idea of Mr. Kirsch right in the beginning was to make a large forum and to make sure that we reach out to every single corner of the world. And that effectively means you need to reach out to every single culture around the world. So with these, words and with the hope that all of us have, and of course, I have 2 hands raised there. I can see Dr. Shabina Kute and we have Sabahattin Sakiral here. I think they should have their word, but with these words, I would conclude whatever I wanted to say. Thank you so much. Yes, Sabahatin and Dr. Sabina.
Sabahatin,
on,
go
Shabina.
ahead.
Please go on. After you.
Ramesh sir, thank you so much, Sabahatin, for this courtesy. Sir, this I'm asking on behalf of the new entrants, the new members, or the new nations that are joining in. In India, we know that the National Delphic Council is already established, and we have a way to go. But for any new country, any new member to enter, what could be the blueprint or the the roadmap how to take the Delphic movement to the roots, sir? That was.
To be happily to tell you that everybody who has joined in here has either joined from India or from Bangladesh or from Nepal. I can also see somebody from Greece and France here. And so therefore they've been invited by members or by national councils or regional councils. I would love to tell you that we have a presence of a lot of regional council members here in this group today. We've had at the peak about 64, 65 people joining in. And we have had representation across India and Nepal and Bangladesh also. Some of them live in Dhaka, but many of them subscribe to various other places. And the idea basically is that when the National Delphic Council is created, there's a process. Even India, though we have a National Delphic Council, we are officially yet to be certified as a National Delphic Council because there is a process to do that. We follow a proper standard operating procedure on that front. So when that comes to that, but we already have a council, we've done plenty of activities. We have Nepal already running a successful council. They've done wonderful activities. So whoever wants to join our whichever country they come from, first is they can reach out to us to clarify whether they have an NDC. If there are people who don't have NDCs in the country, like France, for that matter. So we have an NDC, but get to be, not active, it's dormant. But if in case you know where you come from, then you have to simply, subscribe to that particular council. Could be a regional council, could be a national council. And then you come through that. And there's a membership orientation process where, like what we did today, the local council or the national council will then tell you the entire idea of Delphic, then take your consent and then bring you in as an individual member. And whatever their policies and rules are, every NDC might have their own policy. And based on that, you'll have to subscribe to. Yeah, if that answers.
Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. Yes, Mr. Sabahatin, and I can see Professor Dr. Thomas Daffon here raising his hand as well. I'll let Sabahatin go first.
Thank you very much. It's every time really in my heart when I meet my friends from India and from that region of the world. I feel that we are coming closer. I feel that I come closer and closer, and it's I'm really each time surprised more and more. You are like each of you is like a hidden gem. Yeah, we talk differently, we articulate differently, but everyone has a wonderful color, and this is making me more curious about India and about my friends and brothers and sisters there. Today we have also a very special guest, Flor Curcio from South America. We produce with her, I told you, this music festival around Cordoba. She is my co-producer. We have a fantastic team there. And, I never have been to South America, but I produced together with Flor a music festival there with thousands of people attending that. And we also produced a documentary. So I welcome you, Flor, here in this wonderful IDC context. I told you a lot about the Delphic Council. You see, these are those wonderful people I told you, and we have a lot more on your side in South America, in Argentina. So it's a big family, and today we are. I'm in Germany. She's in South America. You are in India and in other regions. So you see that with all these colors and with these gems from around the world, something great is happening. And I'm very thankful that that we are able to come together and connect in that center around arts and culture. So again, Flor, welcome. It's a pleasure and an honor to see you here. She's, by the way, also full-blood musician, songwriter, singer, producer. She's everything. She's a teacher. She's a therapist. So, and I hope that she could become the very core of a possible national Delphic Council in Argentina and maybe beyond that also in the South American world. That would be fantastic.
Welcome, Flor.
Thank you so much, Sabahattin. I request Professor Dr. Thomas Jeffer.
Yes, hello. I hope you can hear me. Am I audible?
Clear, sir.
Excellent. Yes,
We can
I'm
see
not
you,
going to
though.
show my video because there's some problem with the sound. Firstly, I just want to say hello. Thank you so much for this meeting. Nice to see old friends. And I'm the educational coordinator for the International Delphic Games. And I want to just say I was very pleased to see Ramesh talk about the idea of having Delphic clubs in universities. And I'd like to say to anyone that's working in a university as a teacher or as a student, let's take that forward. I would like to see Delphic clubs in universities throughout Nepal, Bangladesh, India, France, Germany, Latin America, and so on. I think that's one way to get this message out. And our friend from Nepal, I think, said it's up to the youth to take this message. We can do that through the university sector. So please get in touch with me via Ramesh and we'll talk about the protocols, okay? The final thing I want to say is I actually want to read a poem. It's not long. I'm a poet as well. You know me as an academic and a professor of philosophy, but I'm also an artist. And we've talked so much about the arts here. We haven't had any actual examples. I want to read you a short poem, which I wrote in the Philippines at a UNESCO conference in 2004. I'd been invited as a professor of peace studies at a conference of academic experts on peace. And during the conference, you may remember this, there was a terrible train bombing in Madrid in 2004. Many people died. I listened to that news and we were all upset. And I wrote this poem that night. It's called Impossible Voices of Resolve and Their Echoes. To hold within oneself all the contending voices of the apocalypse. To hear the hatred and the rage and the rancor, the pain and the excuses, the apologies and the explanations. Sufficient, never enough. Uttered with that sinking feeling, knowing they are never enough. Remembering how the crows caw in the stark sky of a Welsh winter day, sounding like harsh questions. To defy mere logoism and to dare to encircle the whole of it with silence. To await the Ouroboros of your own soul, completing its slinky circling and touching ends. To hold silence when not asked to speak, and to be patient with the silence. To let a slow warmth gradually come up out of the ground. Something true and deep, wooden and reliable, fresh and vibrant as a green-leafed tree. It's like remembering the scent of a lemon tree on a hot evening by a river, as if yesterday, and the noble stars making us crazy and wise at once, wanting us to be as knights of joy. So that's my little poem. I just wanted to send some art words of blessing and to say I set up a network for poets for peace back in the 1990s. So that's my kind of artistic contribution to the Delphic movement, as well as my academic educational work. Thank you so much for everyone. Ramesh, you're doing a great job. And Christian, thank you for your inspiration, sir.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey, sir. As children, we used to, study about the disintegration of light and formation of, that's how we get rainbows. What Christian sir has given us is a reverse process, getting all the colors of the world and trying to, concentrate them back into light, the light of peace and harmony. I would like request Shri Ramesh Prasanna to give his concluding remarks so that we can say adios and goodbye to each other on this particular evening.
We have concluded, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. And for all of you who are celebrating Ramadan now or in the next week, wish you all the very best for the festivities. And all of us here will come back again, and we need to keep growing the network. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us.
Namaste.
Hoping to see you all soon. A very happy New Year to our Nepali friends. Happy
Thank you very
Ramadan
much.
to all our Muslim friends, and have a good day, a good evening. and a good
नवाबों की
night.
राजधानी
Professor
लखनऊ की
Bautista,
तरफ से भी आप सभी को बहुत बहुत बधाई और धन्यवाद।
Dr. Rajesh Singh, thank you very much
you
for
so much,
coming.
sir.
बहुत
Thank you,
अच्छा
sir.
लगा आपको देख के।
Thank you,
अभी
sir.
I would
Thank
want
you.
to that.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you,
happy
sir.
always. Be positive. Think positive. Thank you very much, everyone.
And I thank Professor Divina Bautista. She told me it's late in Philippines now, must be quite late. She told me she'll only come for 30 minutes, but see her dedication. She's here till the time we're signing off. Thank you so much, Professor Bautista.
थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच एभ्री वान। नेपालबाट जोइन गर्नुभएको सबैजनालाई धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। सबैको नाम लिन सकिनँ अघि, एक दुईजना साथीहरूले मेरो नाम आएन भनेर चित्त दुखाउनु भयो होइन, विशेष गरेर हाम्रो दिपक गौलीजीले।
अर्कोचोटि साथीको नाम
I love your language.
अँ,
I don't understand one bit of it.
कुछ पल्ले ही नहीं
I'm
पड़ा
beginning to
नेपाल भाषा
understand
को।
some of it.
एड्रेसिङ माई नेप्लिज मेम्बर्स। धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद सबैजनाको। हाम्रो टिमलाई सबैले चिन्नुहुन्छ, त्यो कारणले नयाँ फ्रेन्डहरूको मात्र मैले नाम लिएको आज जोइन गर्नुभएको। धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। फेरि हामी जोइन गर्छौँ र सपोर्टको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद। थ्याङ्क यू एभ्री वान।
Thank you. Thank you.
थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच
Good night from
रमेश सर।
Nepal.
थ्याङ्क यू
Good
सबिनाजी।
night,
थ्याङ्क यू
everybody.
सुभाकी।